Greetings and welcome to KSOL Black Talk Radio, the new black media. Well, let's get into this story. This story is about Billy Porter wearing this tuxedo dress. This is horrible and foul on so many levels, and we're going to get into that. But before I do, let me preface it by saying this. What type of representation is this showing to our young black males? Those who are coming up in society, who are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be. What type of representation is this showing that? I don't think that Billy Porter or the Oscars or anyone else for that matter has really taken that in consideration. Well, there is a segment of us who are, but for the most part, I think the hoopla that's surrounding this idiocy, they're really making something out of this. And so I wanted to cover this story and bring to you the philosophy of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who wrote about this back in 1974. She wrote about this phenomenon that we see unfolding in front of our eyes right today. So you guys recall back when they had the Housewives of Atlanta on, where they showed black men who dressed up as women wearing high heel shoes and women's clothes, and yet they had their beards and mustaches just like Billy Porter is showing right here. With that said, there's a word or a couple words that's being thrown around towards black males, black heterosexual males. The words are toxic masculinity. And I want to just say, for the record, that if you want to know what toxic masculinity looks like, this is it. This is what toxic masculinity looks like. Billy Porter, a black male in a dress. This is toxic masculinity. Let's take a look at the word toxic for a second. So toxic is poisonous, venomous, virulent, noxious, dangerous, destructive, harmful, unsafe, malignant, injurious. You get the picture. Death-dealing, baneful, lethal, mortal. Yeah, you can look this up yourself. Toxic masculinity looks just like this. Hell, he should have just went to the Oscars looking like Mr. Potato Head. Because technically that's what he looked like. He looked like Mr. Potato Head. He should have just walked out on the red carpet looking like Mr. Potato Head. He would have got all the laughs he wanted. He would have gotten all the attention he wanted. Because let's be honest, that's what he wanted, was attention. And that's what Billy Porter got, was a lot of attention. Now, I just said his name. I'm not going to say his name anymore. I think he's gotten way more than enough attention from all of us. It's a crying shame. Again, what type of representation this is showing to our young black males. And of course, we know this is exactly what the powers that be, or those in society, want to portray black men looking like. Exactly like this. And you can best believe that this picture and this representation has now made its way around the world. And with that, let's get into what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing had to say about all of this, so you can understand what we're seeing and why we're seeing it. If you're not familiar, her name is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She wrote the ISIS papers, the keys to the colors. Within that great manuscript, there is a chapter called The Politics Behind Black Male Passivity, Effeminization, Bisexuality, and Homosexuality. As I stated before, this is something she wrote back in August of 1974. Many in the black population are reaching the conclusion that such issues have become a problem of epidemic proportion amongst black people in the United States, although it was an almost non-existent behavioral phenomenon amongst indigenous blacks in Africa. Let's pause for a minute and speak on that. A lot of the white racists in America like to point out homosexuality or tranny or any type of sexual perversion amongst black men within America. And I'd like to point out the fact that white people, both men and women, need to keep in mind that black people are acting and reacting in the way we are under this guise of white supremacy. It's under this guise of white tyranny and terrorism that we are acting in this manner. As I just read to you, these things are almost non-existent in Africa. As a matter of fact, before I move on, let's just be real that when you've taken your issues of gay, homosexuality, or tranny, or any type of sexual perversion to Africa, most all African nations and countries tell you no and to go away. Those are just the facts. So keep your perversion to yourself. Let's move on. We must be able to help our patients, and in this case our people, understand their conduct and change it as they so desire. We should be in a position to comment on the ultimate implications of these behaviors for the well-being of black people, not simply as individuals, but as whole organism of people seeking life and maximal development. In brief, this means black behavioral practice which resists self and group negation and destruction. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing writes, "The human brain, the organ responsible for all patterns of logic, thought, speech, action, and emotional response, is an organ of the nervous system that evolved over many thousands of years. Its purpose has been to decode and solve problems in the external environment, both its physical and social aspects. Thus, specific patterns of behavior may be looked upon as functional or dysfunctional solutions to the problems posed by the external environment. When the brain's purpose is understood, patterns of male passivity, effeminization, bisexuality, and homosexuality may be looked upon as functional or dysfunctional solutions to specific problems posed in the environment, even though consciously they are not understood as such. But for what environmental problems are these behaviors considered answers? Functional or dysfunctional is the question." During the past 400 years, black men in the United States have been forced into passive and cooperative submission to white men. There goes that word submission. You know, Cynthia G has mentioned that word several times about how black men have submitted to white men. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing also just made that point. I'll read it one more time. During the past 400 years, black men in the United States have been forced into passive and cooperative submission to white men. The major strategy has been the installation of an overwhelming fear. Specific tactics range from actual physical castration and lynching to other overt and more subtle forms of abuse, violence, and cruelty. We should not be ashamed to recognize these tactics used to oppress black men. It is the truth. It is reality. Ultimately, this is the meaning of black oppression. The more the black male strives to stand, the weaker the white male feels by comparison, and the greater the white male's thrust to effeminize the black male, to weaken the black male's psychological potential for aggressive and assertive challenge, forcing him to remain submissive to the man. Family, the American Psychiatric Association's decision to remove homosexuality from the list of mental behavioral disturbances resulted from the increasing number of white males seeking this mode of sexual expression due to an increasing consciousness of true white male weakness. Male bisexuality and homosexuality can be viewed as the sexual expression of male weakness, passivity, and effeminization. And the white female's liberation movement is another disturbing threat to the white male's sense of power and masculinity, helping push him to a weakened and homosexual stance. However, white females are reacting to the oppression imposed on them by white males, feeling inferior to non-black males and females. The white male said to the white female, quote, "Well, at least I'm going to be superior to you," unquote. The white female reaction in the form of women's liberation is contributing further to white male-female alienation, pushing white males further into the homosexual position and incidentally pushing white females in that direction also. From another perspective, white male and female homosexuality can be viewed as the final expression of their dislike of their genetic albinism in a world numerically dominated by colored people. This dislike of their appearance, though deeply repressed, causes a negation of the act of self-reproduction or sex in various forms. This is the eventual origin of homosexuality. Wow, that's very powerful, what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing just stated. All of the aforementioned dynamics are components of the total dynamic of racism. Some of the methodologies used to achieve black male submission or effeminization warrant further examination. Unlike the white male, the black male does not arrive at the effeminate, bisexual, or homosexual stance from any deeply repressed sense of genetic weakness, inadequacy, or disgust, which I refer to as primary effeminacy. Effeminacy that is self-derived and not imposed forcibly by others. Instead, the black male arrives at this position secondarily as the result of the imposed power and cruelty of the white male and the totality of the white supremacy social and political apparatus that has forced 20 generations of black males into submission. This pattern of imposed submission is reinforced through every institution within the white supremacy system, but especially in the fundamental social institution of the family, or in this case, the Black Survival Unit. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing goes in further to state how one ex-prisoner patient told her, quote, "It is easier to endure the life on the inside than to try to put up with the pressure of being a man, a husband, and a father in the street," unquote. The intent of racist programming had been achieved. Quote, "Give up trying to be a black man. Why not be a woman?" Unquote. Many black males have answered unconsciously, why not? The braided and curled hair, the earrings and bracelets, the midriff tops, the cinch waist pants, the flowered underwear, the high-heeled shoes with platforms, and the pocketbooks are all behavioral answers to the above. They say in loud and clear language, quote, "White man, I will never come after you. I cannot run in my high heels. You know that. And I may mess up my hair," unquote. The white-run clothing industry is all too pleased to provide the costumes of feminine disguise for black male escape. However, they never would provide uniforms or combat gear if customers were willing to pay $1,000 per outfit. You heard it here on KSOL Black Talk Radio, the new black media. But let's continue. Family, because black men are forced into patterns of both conscious and unconscious logic, ever-increasing incidents of black male passivity, effeminization, bisexuality, and homosexuality can be understood logically and accurately predicted. There is only one solution: that black males collectively face the horrendous presence of white males and conquer the accompanying fear engendered by this act. After the white man is faced, he must be resisted steadfastly and fought if he continues to wage war on black people. Black male homosexuality and bisexuality are only the long-run byproducts of males submitting in fear to other males in the social arena. They fail to resist because death is the result of resistance. The large number of black male homosexuals and bisexuals who report that they had and have little or no respect for their fathers might have had completely different life histories had they grown up with the knowledge that their fathers died while in defense of their manhood when it was attacked and challenged by the oppressor. Then manhood would have been viewed as something so precious that one dies in defense of it. In the end, black psychiatrists must understand that whites may condone homosexuality for themselves, but we as blacks must see it as a strategy for destroying black people that must be countered. Homosexuals or bisexuals should neither be condemned nor degraded, as they did not decide that they would be so programmed in childhood. The racist system should be held accountable. One method I have been using with all black male patients, whether their particular disorder be passivity, effeminization, bisexuality, or homosexuality or other, is to have them relax and envision themselves approaching and opposing in actual combat the collective white males and females without apology or giving up in the crunch. The fear of such a confrontation is at the basis of most of today's black male pathologies in patterns of logic, thought, speech, action, and emotional response as they participate in all areas of human activity. You know, family, that was a great piece written by, again, the late, great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. May she rest in peace. She is our ancestor. If you haven't read the book, The ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors, I highly recommend it. This was a very interesting subject, and I thought it was appropriate in response to the trending of this so-called black man here. And you know his name. I won't say it again. But this is KSOL Black Talk Radio, the new black media. Thanks a lot for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.